Just let me know then whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself, your name, your year, your major, and then the office that you're looking for.
My name is Neftali Galarza. I'm a third-year political science major with a minor in labor studies, and I'm running for Vice President of External Affairs.
Vice President of External Affairs.
Pride as in making sure that students are prideful to come to UCR. A lot of people sometimes have a negative connotations of UCR. We want to make sure we change that. One is we were ranked number one by Times, right? And that's something really powerful, but then people justify it, And so we want to make sure that students come to UCR, are prideful to come to this university, because it's a great university. We're on diversity. Students are getting involved. There's so many resources, and we want to make sure students are aware of all those things. Progress, getting involved with the city. Right now, there's a huge gap between the city and UCR where we don't work together, right? We want to make sure we work together with the city. We also lobby with our elected officials, such as Assemblymember Jose Medina, Congressmember Martin Cano, or Senator Richard Roth, making sure that they're voting with the students. So as the Vice President of External Affairs, my duty in progress would be making sure that our voice is being heard, that I make sure that whenever something's coming out big and it affects students, that we're out there lobbying, advocating for student issues, such as the hikes, talking to people, right? Because we want to make sure that we have their support. And if the city or elected officials in our area stand with us, then that's something big. Empowerment is empowering students, letting them know about the resources I mentioned earlier, letting them know that they could be that if one day they want to run for Vice President of External Affairs, that's open to them. If they want to become a senator, come into the office and we'll teach you how to get involved in the committee or something else. Or if they just want to run out of nowhere, then we want to make sure those resources are known to them, right? Because students are so powerful, and sometimes sometimes with their own negative things that are going into their head, they tell themselves they're not. And so we want to make sure, even me as an external affairs, I want to make sure that students are well aware of what they do. And specifically to Vice President of External Affairs, some of my plans are to, if any student doesn't have to be part of the committee that I form later on, has an issue or something that's going on with them, some mental health, or if they want to do a teaching on youth consent, they come to the office and I could guide them into this is how you do a teach-in, or if you want to do an action, we could be there and support you, and that's empowering students, because there's a lot of different issues that students are affected by, and sometimes they feel like they're not empowered, or sometimes they feel like they don't have the resources to bring up awareness, So I want to make sure that those things are done.
Okay. What makes you qualified for the position of Vice President of External Affairs?
So right now I'm I'm a director under External Affairs. I'm the Student Organized Voter Access Director, or also known as Highlander Voter Coalition Director. I ran the voter reg campaign here. So I was door knocking. So we do a lot of voter reg, right? And that's mainly my path. This year, because of the whole new schedule change, we didn't have a large gap to register so many students, right? But I was still out there. Currently, I sit still in the office, and I'm out there in any action that the office is hosting, to support, because right now there's not much to do with voter registration other than what my office is doing right now, is we're forming a toolkit, because when I came in as a Highlander Voter Coalition Director, it was basically like, here you go, like do your job, and I was like, all right, can I go knock in dorms? And they're like, oh, red flag, you might not be able to do that. You have to meet with someone else. And so, oh, can I do this? And they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure, you have to meet with this other person. And then I would go meet with this other person and tell me, oh yeah, you can do this, but first meet with this other person. So we want to make sure that next year where primary elections are going around, that the person who has my position has a toolkit and saying, all right, here you go, like here's everything to have a successful voter register drive and get out the vote drive. Here it is. Because that was not done. There's been so many years of Highlander Vote Coalition directors, and they just do their job and they don't look for different generations. And something that I do a lot is I always look into generations ahead of me, and that's why I decided to do that for Highlander Vote Coalition. I also interned for Assemblymember Jose Medina in the past, so that makes I have a relationship with that office. I've interned in different campaigns. I've interned for different community organizations, such as Planned Parenthood Action Fund of the Pacific Southwest here in Riverside. I've interned for Mi Familia Vota, and I actually became a lead organizer with them. where I led the top office in the entire California for Mi Familia Vota, registering over 3,000 people by just canvassing. So my experiences are there. I have both the experience on campus and outside of campus with different community organizations. So not only that, but I've also attended different the conferences that are hosted, such as Student of Color Conference and the USSA Congress. So I've made my connections and my network is there for with UCSA and USSA, because at times the Vice President of External Affairs is the liaison between USSA and UCSA. And I want to make sure that other students have that opportunity and they know about USSA and UCSA, because I didn't know about it until I became part of the office. So that's why I think I'm qualified.
Can you briefly explain to me what you think the purpose of the Vice President of External Affairs is?
All right, I think how I see it is a lot different than other people. A lot of people see it as being a facilitator. I more see it as being a lead organizer. One, because if we're gonna have an action, the Vice President of External Affairs is gonna be there organizing, not facilitating. So I see it as the lead organizer of the space. I see as creating a space for other students to get empowered if they want to get become a representative in USSA or UCSA. Open up the opportunity. I see it as if you want to become a sort of like the liaison between the school and outside community organizations or elected officials advocating for student issues, because that's what the person is there for. They're elected to represent the students, and if they're not doing that, then there's no point for the office. So I see myself going lobbying with the Highlander lobby corps, and making sure that, hey, represent the students. This year, how do you stand on the tuition increase? Because we're against it. Do you support us or do you not? Elections are coming up in June. Primary elections are coming up. Do you support us? And then so it's all about advocating for student issues in the statewide and nationwide. That's with UCSA and USSA, because and they open up opportunities for other students. You create your own committee. You have the Highlander Action Committee. You have a director there organizing different actions. You have the legislative liaison, who's the main organizer for the lobby corps, and also both of these sit in the USSA board, and they're voting members. And then we have the Highlander Vote Coalition director, who's responsible to making sure that our students are being registered to vote. Make sure that this person is aware of the different resources that there are for him or her to be successful while taking the opportunity. And then you have different persons such as the national affairs liaison, who's a person who sits who's sent to USSA meetings, and tells us about how everything's going on. And there's the labor officer, who's, if there's an issue with on campus labor, they bring it up, and then Highlander Action Committee does something about it. So we want to make sure that that's done.
And last question, can you briefly explain to me why you're running for Vice President of External Affairs?
So yeah, it's a funny story. Actually, I was not gonna run until last Monday, before the deadline. I was helping organize the slate and my friend Fernando. But then on Monday, I started getting calls, and people are like, "Hey, what are you gonna do? Are you running?" And I'm like, I think I'm just gonna help, because I really want to make sure that a progressive slate is being elected. And then it's like, "No, you should run for Vice President of External Affairs." And I always had it in the back of my head, like that's something I would like to do in the future. But then I was like, "Oh, why do you think I should do it?" And it's like, because of your experiences with the community organizations and the way you are about things. You're direct, and you like to get things done. You have a lot of organizing experience. And this person made me believe it, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it then. And then another person calls me. I guess they planned it out. It's like, "Hey, are you gonna run for Vice President of External Affairs?" I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And they're, "Okay, you better do it, because we want you to get elected." And then so that was Monday, and I'm like, okay, cool. I downloaded the forms, and then I called Fernando. I'm like, "Hey, I want to run for Vice President of External Affairs. Like, do you want me part of your side?" So we talked, talked. And then a lot of people started telling me I'm always in Chicano student programs and the ethnic gender programs. And they're like, "Hey, are you going to run for Vice President of External Affairs?" And because dozens of people kept on telling me to do it, I believed in myself. And, a lot, I don't have my personal agenda. I'm not like, "Oh, this is for in the future when I run for an elected official, it's gonna be there. No, it's more of because people told me I should do it. I believed in myself, and that's why I'm here. You know, it's not, you know, it's not a. It's exciting that to do this, but it's more exciting when you have the support of a lot of people. Because you know, last year I ran for senator, and I really wanted to do it, but it was me that I wanted to do it. You know, because you know I thought it was amazing. It would give me an opportunity to do it. But now I could see it. Now it's completely different, and I was just willing to help organize. But now it's the opportunity is there for me to run for vice president of external affairs, and I took, you know, I interned for United Farm Workers and I was there when Fernando calls me. He's like, hey, like, run with me, you know, and I was like, all right, I'm down, let's do this. And yeah, so I think my experiences with different community organizations, so like I mentioned before, the UFW Foundation, which I'm currently interning for, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, with Mi Familia Vota, and so on, and my internships with the elected officials, it makes me great qualified as an external, because that's what external does, right? And on community, here at UCR, I'm part of the office now, and I get to see how the office is being ran, and I get to like criticize. Okay, this is what I need to change if I'm elected, or I could keep this if I'm not elected. But a lot of times, when people call themselves qualified, it's like, oh, I've been part of ASUCR for 2 to 3, 5 years, and I don't think that itself could tell someone that they're qualified. One, because a lot of times when people are in ASUCR is because their friends are there, and their friends appointed them for something. And then it keeps on going like that, right? And then the only people who are qualified are the people who have been there for qualified in the terms of supposedly running, you know. So it doesn't open. It's not community oriented, and I want to make sure that that's changed when I'm there. The ACCR is community oriented. There's a bridge between the council hall and ACCR. Well, there's one already, but a figuratively one where people feel comfortable coming to ACCR and they don't judge them. Or we have a bridge between all the different resources here on campus, because although they might be there, it lacks a stronger core. Yeah, that's why I'm running, because I want to make sure that we move forward.
Okay. Thank you very much for your
No problem.
Mhm.
All right.